The story begins with Yoon, a girl who has just turned 19. Her life is a series of happy days alongside her mother, who is deaf and unable to speak. Yoon patiently teaches her mother to practice speaking, with the sole hope that if her mother ever gets lost on the street alone, she would be able to communicate with others. Yoon's father passed away many years ago, so now the family consists only of the mother and daughter relying on each other. Although their economic situation is not well off, they still live happily. Yoon's mother is very fond of rice cakes, so every day when Yoon returns from school, she always makes an effort to buy some for her mother. Conversely, Yoon particularly loves cosmos flowers. The mother would always carefully pick the cosmos blossoms to give to her daughter. They found joy in small, simple things like that. However, Yoon stopped her mother from picking the flowers, believing that flowers also feel pain. The mother and daughter share the household expenses. Yoon's mother works at a sewing factory, and Yoon takes a part-time job at a cafe. Seeing her daughter having to work from an early age, the mother feels heartbroken. She often advises her daughter to quit the job and reminds her that the debt incurred when Yoon's father was sick has been fully paid off, but Yoon only laughs it off, not wanting to cause her mother any further worry. Yoon's mother suffers from asthma, so she often orders various herbal teas online to improve her health. One day, Yoon's school friends visited her workplace. Everyone realized that Yoon had dropped out of school. However, so her mother wouldn't suspect anything, she still wears her school uniform when leaving the house. Additionally, another secret was revealed. Yoon is studying for the civil service exam. Although she could not pass this year, she aims to prepare thoroughly and try again next year. Yoon's friends are incredibly encouraging and supportive. They even bought her necessary books and notebooks. Then one day, upon hearing the news that her mother had injured her finger while working, Yoon rushed to her side in tears. A colleague of her mother took her to the hospital and took meticulous care of her, for which Yoon was deeply grateful and offered a sincere thank you. The next day, Yoon's mother was seen smiling while looking at a picture of her daughter. The same colleague approached her and complimented her daughter's beauty. Yoon's mother read his lips, smiled, and responded using sign language that Yoon looks a lot like her father, but the man did not understand what she said. He assumed that perhaps she did not hear or understand what he meant, thinking that he spoke boldly, saying that Yoon was grown up and proposed to marry her. He even forcefully claimed that no one could make Yoon happier than him. After saying this, he burst out laughing. However, Yoon's mother clearly understood everything, and in a fit of rage, she slapped the man hard across the face. His intention was truly vile and disgusting. He had been eyeing Yoon with wicked thoughts since the first time he met her. At the end of that day, the man came to Yoon's workplace and stared at her legs with a lustful gaze. Even after returning home, he could not stop thinking about Yoon, especially when he was drunk. As for Yoon, she had to leave work late that day. The street was deserted, and taking advantage of the situation, the man began to creepily follow her. After a while, Yoon sensed someone walking behind her. She grew worried and walked faster. The man chased after her and finally grabbed her from behind. He dragged Yoon into a secluded corner in a field and satisfied his warped desires. But that man was truly despicable. Even after committing that horrific act, he looked straight into Yoon's eyes and threatened that if she dared to tell anyone, he would do the same to her mother. Meanwhile, Yoon's mother was restless because it was late and her daughter had not returned home. Overwhelmed with worry, she went out to look for her. When he saw Yoon's mother alone in the deserted place, criminal and perverted thoughts once again invaded the man's mind. He stood up and walked toward Yoon's mother. Yoon, enduring the utmost pain and horror, saw that evil look, this time directed at her mother. She tried with her last ounce of strength, stood up, grabbed a nearby stone, and slammed it hard into the man's head. That fatal blow killed the devil instantly due to the injury. In the next scene, Yoon is arrested for murder. The police could not find clear evidence to suggest she acted in self-defense. Although the police might believe her statement, the law still requires concrete evidence. Consequently, the case was no longer considered self-defense but was classified as murder. To save Yoon, her lawyer advised her to publicly disclose the story, join a women's organization, and fight for her rights. However, Yoon refused. She did not want anyone to know what happened to her. She did not want to be looked at with pity as if she were a poor, helpless woman. Since birth, people had looked at her that way, and she could not bear it anymore. She explained this to her mother. Having no other choice, the mother and daughter could only embrace each other and cry in helplessness. A few days later, the trial date arrived. Due to the lack of concrete evidence, the court sentenced Yoon to 5 years in prison for murder. Upon hearing the verdict, Yoon's mother knelt down and begged, then hugged her daughter and sobbed so profusely that everyone present could not hold back their tears. Afterward, in prison, Yoon was taken to a cell where 5 other women were also serving sentences. As soon as Yoon walked in, one girl lunged and viciously beat her, simply because Yoon's body accidentally brushed against her while entering. Seeing Yoon being beaten, the other inmates intervened and stopped the girl. That entire night, Yoon cried a lot because she missed her mother. This was the first time she had been away from her mother. The next morning, all the inmates ate breakfast together. They were not as bad as Yoon had thought. Each person had their own story, but one woman stood out. She wore different clothes, a pink uniform unlike the others. When Yoon asked, she replied that she was the most exemplary inmate in the entire prison. Among them, there was also an elderly inmate named Sununj, whom everyone called the elder sister. Noticing that Yoon was not eating, Sununj gently explained that Yoon would eventually get used to life there. She advised Yoon to eat so she would have the strength to work. The inmates also informed Yoon that they are paid wages for the work they do in prison. When Yoon learned that the highest paying job was repair work, she decided to choose it. Although this job is very difficult, she was determined to do it. A moment later, all the inmates went to their assigned workplaces. There, one woman kept staring at Yoon because she was young and beautiful. During roll call, the female correctional officer noticed Yoon was new and announced her inmate number as 2037. At the end of the workday, when everyone gathered, Yoon asked the correctional officer when she would receive her wages. Hearing this, the female officer snapped at her, saying she would not get a single penny. The police officer scolded Yoon harshly, reminding her that she was just a prisoner. That night, when the other inmates had fallen asleep, Yoon sat silently crying in a corner of the room. Before long, Sununj approached her and confessed that she was in prison for murdering 5 people. She explained that she once had a son who was killed by a drunk driver. To seek revenge, Sununj set fire to and burned the entire family of that person alive. She admitted that she deeply regretted the actions she had committed. Sununj advised Yoon to express her emotions honestly, saying it was the only way to find peace. During their conversation, we also learned that Sununj has been sentenced to death, and the execution date is drawing near. After hearing Sununj's story, Yoon wrote a letter to her mother. In the letter, she reassured her mother that she was fine and asked her not to worry. From that day on, Yoon gradually tried to adapt to life in prison. She slowly learned the work and began to communicate more openly with the women in her cell. A few days later, Yoon's mother visited her, bringing her daughter's favorite food. But the guard said that outside food was not allowed inside as it could cause trouble for Yoon. Her mother was very happy to see her daughter again after a long time. Yoon also became very emotional upon hearing her mother call her name. Although her mother could not speak, both of them cried while looking at each other. The lust of a stranger had destroyed a once happy, joyful family. The next morning, Yoon's health deteriorated and she could not get out of bed. After seeing the doctor, she was shocked to realize she was pregnant. Hearing this news, Yoon was stunned. After the most horrifying and painful event of her life, she had tried to move on, but life pushed her right back to the same place. The one who ruined her life was the father of the child she was carrying. Without thinking of anything else, she only wanted to escape the prison, hug her mother, and scream loudly. She ran towards the gate and tried to open it, crying loudly while calling for her mother. Seeing Yoon's state, the police immediately stopped her and locked her in a dark room. After a few moments, Yoon's cellmates also learned about her pregnancy. All of them were very worried for Yoon because she was too young to be a mother. And second, the baby was the child of the very man who had raped her. The next day, Sununj placed Yoon's head in her lap and affectionately told her that no matter what the circumstances, she had to face it with strength. Before long, Sununj took care of Yoon and helped her return to the room. After a while, the girl who had beaten Yoon on the first day struck her again and demanded to know why she was keeping the rapist's child. Then, the other inmates intervened to stop the girl from hitting Yoon. It turned out that the girl's behavior was shaped by her own circumstances, and her story was similar to Yoon's. The days continued to pass, and Yoon stopped seeing her mother, thinking that if her mother knew what had happened, she would worry about her. Her mother still came to visit every day, but Yoon refused to see her. Yoon's mother was heartbroken, not understanding why her daughter wanted to push her away. One day, a few female inmates from another room came and began to threaten Yoon. Just then, a woman approached her and told her to come with her to the restroom. This woman had been attracted to Yoon since the first day and wanted to take her there to sexually abuse her. But right at that moment, Sununj appeared and began to threaten the other female inmate by grabbing her hair. She told the woman that even if she committed another murder here, her punishment would still be the death penalty. From that day onward, everyone began to keep their distance from Yoon out of fear. Time passed, and Yoon felt she could not bear the burden of the pregnancy. One day, she tried to inflict injury on her abdomen with a piece of glass. The hot-tempered girl saw this and started screaming. She said she had warned Yoon not to keep the baby and not to try to kill herself. Everyone advised Yoon that she could turn to the media because the public might be able to help her. They pointed out that serving 5 years in prison at this age would waste the most precious time of her life. But Yoon refused to agree. Although she was willing to waste 5 years here, she could not live the rest of her life in shame by exposing herself to the whole world. Now, the only remaining option was to submit a request for a retrial to the court. Perhaps the judge might rule in her favor. Because Yoon was pregnant, she was exempted from heavy labor and assigned lighter duties, such as managing the medication brought in from outside. Although she didn't meet her mother, she still wrote to her regularly, telling her not to worry. Her mother was always moved when reading Yoon's letters. One day, while working, Yoon suddenly felt unbearable abdominal pain. Upon examination, the doctor discovered that Yoon was 6 months pregnant. Although her belly wasn't very large, the baby was still very small but completely healthy. Hearing the baby's heartbeat, Yoon burst into tears because the truth was that she had taken a type of abortifacient which she had managed to hide from the people who brought in outside items. When she returned to the room, everyone asked what the doctor said. Yoon shared that she was 6 months pregnant and told them everything. From the next day, everyone began to take more meticulous care of her, making sure she didn't have to do any work. The days passed, and finally, the retrial date arrived. The judge gave Yoon a chance to make her final statement. Yoon began by affirming that she was the one who killed the man. She said that whether people believed it or not, she knew the bad things he had done to her. She also added that she was ready to accept the punishment for it. She could serve 5 years or even 10 years, but she only begged for one thing, that someone take care of her mother. Yoon cried in front of everyone as she concluded her statement. After listening to everything Yoon presented, the judge decided to revoke the original 5-year sentence and reduce her sentence to just 1 year in prison. Hearing the verdict, radiant smiles appeared on the faces of everyone present. After that, the days began to pass and Yoon's belly gradually grew larger. Everyone took very good care of her. One day, she told her cellmates that she really missed seeing Cosmos flowers. She shared that her mother always picked them for her because they couldn't go outside to get the flowers. That night, everyone quietly woke up one by one and filled the entire restroom with drawings of Cosmos flowers. When Yoon woke up in the morning and saw the surprise, she was incredibly happy. She loved the gesture and felt deeply moved. In the next scene, we see everyone secretly cutting their own clothes to make socks and clothes for Yoon's baby because there were no other materials available in the prison. Not only that, but they also chose a name for the baby. Whether a boy or a girl, the child would be named Bony, meaning to shelter and protect the weak. And the most surprising thing was that the hot-tempered girl brought materials from her workplace and made a toy for the baby. Happiness and kindness exist in the hearts of every person. But life had caused so many wounds that their hearts had become hardened. However, with the joy of the baby's upcoming arrival, everyone gradually began to change. One day, when everyone had gone to work, Yoon stayed alone in the room. Suddenly, she began to go into labor. Somehow, she placed the letters she had written to her cellmates in their drawers. And then she took a pill and lay down on the floor. When the others returned after finishing work, they found Yoon lying unconscious on the floor. Everyone panicked and cried as they tried to lift her up. The guards were called immediately, and Yoon was taken to the hospital. After a long time, Yoon still had not woken up. The doctors urged her to push, warning that both her life and the baby's were in danger. But Yoon remained unresponsive, unwilling to try. Somehow, the doctors managed to save the baby, but Yoon's condition remained critical. Meanwhile, back at the prison, everyone found the letters Yoon had left for them. In the letters, she wrote that she didn't know if she would survive, which is why she left her goodbyes. Yoon thanked each person for the love and care they had given her. After reading the letters, everyone was deeply moved. On the other hand, Yoon's mother was also informed that her daughter had been hospitalized. She rushed over immediately and only found Yoon still unconscious. After months of separation, the mother finally saw her daughter, but in this situation, she hugged Yoon tightly and cried for a long time, unable to control her emotions. Afterward, the film cuts to a scene in a beautiful Cosmos flower garden where a little girl is laughing and playing happily with a family. The girl is none other than Yoon's daughter, who has now been adopted by another family. In the next scene, we see Yoon's mother ironing clothes. Next to her is a certificate for a government job interview. Suddenly, someone calls out loudly, "Mom!" She turns towards the voice and smiles warmly. The film does not reveal who called her mother. Was it Yoon, who recovered and came home? Or did Yoon's mother, too grief-stricken over the loss of her daughter, begin to imagine things? And the film ends here. If you found it interesting, don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section, like and subscribe to the channel to follow the next films.